Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. It's news done differently. It's 10 p.m., the 19th day of March, 2022. And let's get to what's going on. Breaking news out of the United States, out of the state of Arkansas. Um, at least 10 people have been shot at a car show outside of Arkansas. Dumas, Arkansas is the location. Officials with the Arkansas State Police say at least 10 have been injured after a shooting in Dumas. Troopers were dispatched to reports of a shooting that happened outside a local business where a car show was happening. It was about 7:25, so just over a couple of hours ago, and no word as to the extent of the injuries from the incident, or suspects, or intentions on why the shoot happened. We will keep you updated on those events. Kenosha off-duty police officer, a video was released yesterday showing the off-duty officer in Kenosha, Wisconsin, putting a knee on a 12-year-old girl's neck. The officer has resigned as a school security guard, which he did in his off hours. And the girl's father is calling for criminal charges. There was a fight between the two girls. School officials in Kenosha, Wisconsin, released surveillance footage that showed an off-duty police officer putting his knee on a 12-year-old girl's neck to restrain her amid a lunchtime fight. It showed the officer, Sean Getchkow, intervening in the fight, scuffling with the girl before falling to the ground and hitting his head on the table. Grushkow then pushed the girl's head into the ground and used his knee on her neck for about a half a minute before handcuffing her and walking her out of the cafeteria. The video was posted and then it was taken down by the Kenosha school board later on Friday afternoon. That's why no video is available of the event. Kenosha, Wisconsin, as you may know, is where Kyle Rittenhouse killed three people, or killed two people and severely injured another during the protests after Jacob Blake, a black man, was shot by a white police officer. Jacob Blake was shot in the back by a white police officer, and protests and riots broke out in Kenosha. And so we're going to keep an eye on what happens up there as well. And start out with this afternoon, had some information that was shared that Putin had ordered his generals to be preparing for a nuclear evacuation drill. And I bring that up because we have been keeping track of what's going on around Moscow. And while the flight patterns around Moscow are not heavy at the moment, they're not unusual either for the time of night it is over there. It's about 4 o'clock in the morning over there. So so far we have not seen any activity, but you wouldn't expect any activity right away. It's like when you're in school and there's going to be a fire drill. Well, the teachers know there's going to be a fire drill at some time, and usually what time. So Putin has told the generals there's going to be an escape drill, and they probably know what time, but he didn't really say that. So we're keeping an eye on it. And just for just to kind of reiterate that we really truly are keeping an eye on it, Earlier this afternoon, I talked with by tweet with Rick Francona, and I sent him this tweet. I retweeted this tweet to him and asked him what his thoughts were, and he said, "Well, the continuity of government issue is one all major countries prepare and train for. So it would not be surprising that the Russians, for reviewing their plans, given Putin's not so obscure references to nuclear weapons. It is the timing that is a bit concerning. Generally, you wouldn't be preparing for a mass evacuation from Moscow in the middle of a war. Those drills generally aren't done. You don't do a lot of drilling as far as military or systems in a time of war." And the second tweet he wrote to me, "The obvious conclusion that people will jump to is that he's preparing for a possible nuclear event, parentheses, that he himself would order. In my opinion, he's worried about his inner circle and is preparing to make sure he survives both politically and literally." And I got, when we sent the information out earlier this afternoon, I said, now this is not saying there's going to be an attack. But it's highly unusual what is going on. All right. And we need to be aware. And this is what I wrote back to him. I agree. People should be aware, but not assume the worst. He has seen his military systems fail at many levels and wants to make sure, if needed, his escape plan actually works. And I thanked him for his time and for his service, and told him to be well. So, and just so, in case I should have told you before, this is Rick Francona. He's a retired U.S. Air Force. He's an intelligence officer. So it's not like I'm just talking to some random dude what's going on. And that's we need to just be aware and know that there are, all of you watching, know that there are a bunch of us watching what's going on, both civilian wise and government wise and military wise. So just know that if I find something you need to know, I'm going to make sure and get it to you as soon as possible. That's what we do here. So that kind of takes us to, let's take a look at the map of Ukraine real quick, just to kind of give you an idea where everything's at. And we will go back. We're going to periodically check tonight in this live. We'll check back in periodically with Moscow right up here, and on our flight radar. At the moment, from approximately right here in Kherson up to about right there, all of this area is in control of Russia. This is Mariupol. We've talked about this a lot. Now, and a development out of Mariupol this afternoon, we've learned that during the night, last night, during the darkness hours over there, a lot of people were rounded up in Mariupol and taken across the border right here, taken across the border into Russia, and are being placed into camps. For those with a background in studying history, you know that is very reminiscent of what the Nazis did in Germany. And we are in a place now where, I'm sorry, I didn't even share that. We're in a place now. Here's Mariupol, and they're taken right across the border into Russia. not very far at all. And then they've been transported on into deeper into Russia for or they are being placed in camps. And many of them are young men, assuming they will be doing the labor that forced labor in Russia in place of Russian men that are getting ready to get sent to battle, conscripted. Russia's running out of troops. And one of two things are going to happen. They're either going to have a massive, massive call up. They do have 40,000 Syrians coming in, but we'll see what kind of impact that has. But they are they're troubling developments. And I want to tie this in real quick before we move on from the idea that, you know, Putin's going to be at some point here conducting a drill to make sure his evacuation plans don't falter like his military plans have. And he's paranoid. We've talked about he let 1,000 of his staff members go, 1,000 of his personal staff members go. All of his, he has somebody stand there and taste all of his food before he eats it. And he's really concerned. And General Francona said, you know, the same thing. He's concerned about his inner circle, and he wants to make sure he survives both literally and politically. So we'll be watching for that. And I've also mentioned that there are reports, we've had intelligence for a while now, that he had a terminal diagnosis of cancer, and also that he has Parkinson's disease. And what we have on our screen is the person that overthrew the election in Belarus, Lukashenko, who's talking about.
Если вы думаете, что президент Путин физически нездоров или что там что-то случилось, он, как у нас часто говорят, живее всех живых. Он много раз простудится на всех наших похоронах, как у нас говорят. Он абсолютно адекватный и нормальный человек. Поэтому пусть Запад, и вы тоже, выбросит из головы эту, как у нас говорят, дуроту, эту выдумку.
Okay. Just so you know, basically what he's saying is Putin is more alive than anyone else. He will survive us all. He's in top shape. He's never been more in his right mind, and he will only catch a cold at our funerals. Okay, he's adamant about how healthy and vibrant and mentally in control Putin is. A couple of problems. The guy never asked. You know, what kind of shape's Putin in? This guy just comes out and starts in on, you know, an incredibly over the top how strong Putin is. That should give us a pretty good indication that Putin is weak, and that may play into his decision making. Okay, as we move forward. I'm going to talk a little bit about Anonymous, a group that you may or may not be familiar with. If you watch the show, you're familiar with them. But I've had more than a few. And the best way if you really want to get in touch with me, you either follow me on Twitter and DM me, or email americandufus@gmail.com is the best way to get in contact with me. I mean, unless you got my number and then, you know, text me. But I've had a few queries about Anonymous, and, you know, what is Anonymous? How do I join Anonymous if I think I want to join Anonymous? And Is it illegal? Is it this? Is it that? Um, I'm going to share some thoughts, but I'm going to let Anonymous define who Anonymous is. And many believe Anonymous is nothing more than a group of hacker activists. This is not exactly true. Anonymous is not a group of organization per se. There's no central leadership. There's no membership. There is no sole purpose behind our actions. And it continues. Rather, we are a movement, an idea. We are everyone and we are no one. We are anyone who wishes to stand up against injustice. We are the passerby who records police brutality on their phone. We are the reporter who exposes a corrupt politician. We are your friend that constantly posts activist posts and news stories on social media. We are the protesters in the streets. And yes, sometimes we are the hackers taking down terrorist websites. We can change the world for the better. That has always been the idea, and ideas are bulletproof. We are against all wars. We are against all wars. We are also against violence and against racism. We want perpetual peace. And then this. Ah. Ah.
Read and watch wars all over the world. We could feel fear, sympathy, anger,
Okay.
sadness.
Try this one more time.
For decades, we could listen, read, and watch wars all over the world. We could feel fear, sympathy, anger, sadness. We could talk about it with family and friends. There was nothing else we could do. Most of us were passive observers. It was the same with Anonymous. We've been reading about them for years, admiring them, trying to understand how they managed to do all these mysterious things. We want to understand what Anonymous is. An organization? A myth? A legend? An idea? Why are there no founders or leaders? For years, we have only been observers and commentators of their activities. Anonymous is the armed arm of the people of the free world against the Kremlin and its supporters. Operation Russia has become the largest cyber offensive in the history of the world. Within a matter of hours, Anonymous shattered the myth of Russia's cyber warfare power. The country's infrastructure was paralyzed. Anonymous has become a global tool for administering justice where international organizations and states fail. And we continue to watch from the outside. It's time to change that. It's time to help the people of Ukraine and then other enslaved nations of the world. It's time to stop being passive. It's time to get involved. Anonymous is a global tool to provide support to those in need, for each and every one of us, no matter who we are or where we live. We don't need to buy guns. Our weapons are our smartphones. You can find ammunition at 1920 and join the greatest army in the history of the world. Become freedom fighters. Become cyber warriors. From now on, Anonymous is you.
So, a couple of messages there from Anonymous. And I've been giving you various ways that you could potentially help if you support Ukraine. I told you about the one page, I don't know, 5 or 6 episodes back, the one page where you could donate directly, and the money part of the money went to support the military. We told you about the how you could help the group that's going in and rescuing animals, bringing them back to the border, pets, bringing them back to the border. Last night we talked about the zoo and how you could help the zoo. And you can help get the message to the people of Russia through through things that have been set up by Anonymous. You can use your phone and you can send emails. Emails are still going through. There are people that are spending their whole day sending emails to random people in Russia, trying to reach them so they understand what's really going on. Now, and there's nothing illegal, immoral, or anything about what you would be doing. And if you want to know how to get in touch and be able to take part in, just send me an email again at americandufus@gmail.com, and we'll tell you how to get signed up, or really you don't sign up for anything. You just go to a site, and actually, if you don't even have to email them. Just go to Squad 303. Okay, you go to Squad 303, and you can look up 1920.in for information, or it's on down in the posts how you can be part of getting some phone numbers from people in Russia, and or getting some emails from people in Russia, and just reaching out. Now, a lot of unsuccess. You're going to get ignored a lot, but it all depends on how you approach things. So you can counter hostilities, and you just might find somebody on the other side who is really wanting some information, because they're getting closed down quite a bit. So let's go on with the rest of the news, but don't if you automatically discount Anonymous, or if you're automatically against it, this is probably not going to be the channel for you. Just saying. Not that I want you to leave or anything, but you're going to hear a lot more about Anonymous, and a lot more about supporting Ukraine. This was 54 minutes ago. What was happening at that time in Kharkiv? Just showing the fires, the results of the artillery and missile strikes in Kharkiv overnight, and Kharkiv right here near the border with Russia, just so have a little reference of where we're actually talking about. Leonard Blankovic's jet, he's a Russian oligarch, landed in West Palm Beach, Florida, about 5 hours ago, and it will be interesting to see if the United States really is going to go get them and take their assets and everything that we've been told, or it's just mere propaganda. Kharkiv. This is from somebody in Kharkiv, and in the entire day, the longest we've gone without hearing artillery is about 8 minutes. So Kharkiv, which we just shown, was smoking and on fire, been getting pounded all day. We showed you a few days back a convoy heading towards Brest in Belarus, and right here, are we on the map? Right here, Brest in Belarus. I'm about to show you another large convoy heading there, Belarus and Russian troops. They think probably what they're going to do is attack attack this part of the border, awfully close to Poland. This is traditional thinking is they're going to try to drive this way and cut off the supply lines to the east. Drive to Lviv. Drive, I mean, push forward as an incursion. It's so close to the Polish border that we just really need to pay attention in the next 24 hours to what's going on in this little bitty corner right here. Okay. I'm going to pay attention to it, and I'll tell you what's going on there, show you what's going on there. How about that? So you don't have to pay a whole lot of attention. But again, you know, you got to look for yourself. Even with, you know, make sure you check on my stuff. Even I don't expect anybody to just automatically accept anything. And again, this is a convoy, pretty large convoy, a lot of troop and supply carriers, and headed towards Brest, the region we showed you earlier. So large convoy, worrying signs that from Belarus, fears grow of Russian-Belarus invasion of Ukraine along the Polish border to cut off access to Western weapons delivery. And this comes from Sergey. He's an Eastern European expert based out of Germany and currently in Ukraine. There have been many reports of massive shortages in Russia of basic goods, fights in supermarkets, people unable to access their banks and credit cards due to sanctions. And they're predicting it's going to get worse every day. We showed you some of this last night, and well, I went too far down, my bad. The shelves, hang with me for just a second here. Did I delete it? Okay, here we go. The shelves at one of the supermarkets, and this is, here's the address, a hypermarket in Moscow, and basically a whole lot of empty shelves. I'm going to hold off on this until quote, how do you know we're not planning anything against Croatia, Hungary, or Poland? We have plans against NATO. We assess the geostrategic situation. We look for where the threats are coming from, and we react. That was the Russian ambassador to Bosnia and Herzegovina, Igor Kalabov. Reports that Russia and Belarus troops could attack Ukraine. Again, that's just a second source on what may happen near the Polish border. This info comes from the Chinese foreign minister. Quote, if NATO's enlargement goes further, it would be approaching the outskirts of Moscow, where a missile could hit the Kremlin within 7 or 8 minutes. We've got submarines that could probably hit Moscow now within 10 to 15 minutes. So otherwise Putin wouldn't be worried about evacuation plans. Let's see. More news on Russia and Ukraine. Russia claims Ukraine plans to attack Western diplomats in Lviv. This is one of those false flag things where Russia's going to try to attack Western diplomats to get us involved in the war and blame Ukrainians. Russia's defense minister, again, the Igor Konashenkov, accused Ukrainian fighters from the Azov battalion of preparing to attack the U.S. and other Western diplomats in Lviv, putting the blame on Russia. The Azov battalion is over in the Donbass region, so it's not what's happening. A look at a giant Z in downtown Moscow. Okay, I'm not going to talk about that. Somebody posted a picture of a brand new hospital, and we were trying to get it taken down because it could have been geolocated and targeted, and Russians are known for targeting hospitals. Another in the pardon me. Another in the absurd category. Russians are saying Ukrainians are preparing birds and bats for a biological attack against Russia. We talked about this earlier, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago was when this first was floated. Film director says Ukrainians are using birds to exterminate Slavic ethnos. Expect to fight. Okay, that's a little bit of a joke there. Somebody was trying to make. So, again, just this is what happens when a small load of sugar comes in. She's got and she just kind of pushes it out there and gets out of the way. Of course, this woman tries to get all of it.
Вы куда заходите-то? Куда вы? Выходите, куда вы идете? Выходите.
They're keeping them out so they don't come in the back room.
Выйдите из склада. Ну вы рвете уже сахар-то.
And this is remember we're just 3 weeks into this, and sanctions are just now starting to take effect. Again, this is about the Mariupol residents being deported to Russia, remove people from the left bank district and shelters. This is just a little more specific on the report we gave earlier. A third source, Russian occupiers forcing thousands of Mariupol residents to Russia. The civilians were allegedly taken to camps where they checked their phones and documents and then forcibly removed some of them to transport them further into Russia. And we also talked about how Russia had been using thermobaric weapons. Here's a sample of that. Now, again, those are sometimes called vacuum bombs. But there's proof that indeed, and I got another video. This one has a little bit of a description. It's a TOS-1A for those of you that are military. It's a heavy flamethrower system. and it is capable of shooting rockets armed with incendiary and thermobaric warheads, extremely effective against entrenched personnel, field fortifications, bunkers, light armored vehicles, and against civilian targets, of course. Okay, this is what it looks like. Again, this is the first part. I just want to show you briefly here. We've seen the part where they start fighting. I didn't show you the whole thing, but where they start fighting over the sugar, and the one lady can't get to the cash register before people steal all her sugar. But this is what it looks like out in front of the store. And I'm not going to play the whole thing because I don't want to risk copyright, and plus you've already seen it. But and this is just one example. The British government has announced they will not normalize relations with the Russian government after the Russia-Ukraine war if President Putin is still in power, even if he is placed in a lower position in government. I expect other countries to announce this. Also, I was talking about this last night and the night before last, that Russia has to be broken up into several different factions as far as how big it is. It needs to be divided up so that the potential powers can be minimalized, and Putin has to be neutered basically if he's still alive. I hope he's still alive because he'll have stories to tell about people that are pro-Russian and Russian agents here. And for those that are worried about Hunter Biden's laptop, what about the 15 boxes of top secret material in Mar-a-Lago that we just got back from Trump? You don't think Trump's still in contact with Putin? There's too much at stake for that connection. We'll talk about that coming up. The FBI charged various people with stalking, harassing, and spying on U.S. residents, and they were doing so on behalf of the People's Republic of China. So China, and we know we kicked a lot of Russian staff out of America because of their illicit behaviors, and they have become persona non grata. Speaking of staff, 11 staff members of the Belarusian embassy in Ukraine, including the ambassador, left the territory today, and that could have some significance. Belarusian ambassador leaves, all of their embassy staff leave. We see troops coming towards the border, almost certain in the next 24 hours. Belarus is involved, and it will again be it won't be a popular involvement with the Belarusian people themselves. They know they're under Russia's thumb right now, and they know Ukraine is fighting to make sure they never go under Russia's thumb. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on that. If it crosses into Poland, new ballgame. And that could be why Putin is planning his escape route, because he knows the actual orders are not to go south to try to cut off things in Ukraine, but to keep pushing west and go into Poland from Brest, Belarus. In just one day of fighting yesterday, Russian battalion tactical groups from the 26th Tank Regiment of the 47th Tank Division lost more than 85% of their personnel and equipment. Of the 70 tanks, only 9 survived. 61 tank crews were destroyed. 183 personnel. Massive, and I've got footage of some of that, but we're delaying showing you because it's Ukrainian troops, and we don't want you to know where we don't want you to know where they're at. And finally, EU leaders are in possession of very reliable evidence, quote unquote, that China is considering military assistance to Russia in the Ukraine war. Senior U.S. official told Politico. And we've talked about this. By the way, these are Russian Karens. I'm not going to show that. We'll deal with that on a different day. We got too much serious stuff going on. Anyway, those Russian Karens in Spain and got called out. China, as we've said, they're telling the United States what the United States wants to hear, or at least what China thinks the United States wants to hear. They're telling Russia what Russia wants to hear. The prime minister or the foreign minister of Russia, we tracked his flight the other night. He was flying to Beijing, and he got almost to the Russian-Chinese border and then made a U-turn and came back to Moscow. It was like a 14-hour nonstop flight, just in and out and back. So some kind of communication happened, and the trip proved unnecessary. I'm guessing that China is going to, as I'm not really guessing, I kind of analyzed this from the very beginning. China and Russia are going to try to draw the United States into a two-front war and bleed us dry. And the only way they can do it is by getting us over there. Okay. They can't come here and do it because, quite frankly, there's too many people that have too many guns. We've got too many guns. All right. And if there's ever a case where it's a good thing to have too many guns, it's when you could possibly go to war with two of the other superpowers in the world. All right. So, thank you all for watching. I'm going to keep this one short tonight in hopes that those that watch on the replay, that we'll get some more viewers. Trying to keep this thing going, and I need some help if you can. If you can, help out by hitting the Cashapp, $ American Dufus, all one word, AMERICANDUFUS, or you can go buy one of my books. My latest book is called America, Land of the Greed and Home of the Grave, and it might just become prophecy the way the world is going at the moment. So it's a great story. You won't be disappointed by the book, and help me out that way. Or you can let me know, and I'll tell you how to donate through PayPal. And the real thing, though, is what's going on in Ukraine. If you get a couple of bucks, help me out. I've got maybe 1,000 people off and on that watch the show. If everybody gave $1 and I made $1,000 a month, I can keep doing this. All right. It's not that much. It's not like I require a bunch of money. If you got money to spare, send a couple of bucks my way, but send 20 bucks over to Ukraine somehow. Help out the zoo animals. Help out the orphaned pets. Help out the actual cause by donating money to supplies, some of which will go to the military, will go to the soldiers in the field, or go to Squad 303 on Anonymous and start sending some emails. If you feel like there's nothing you can do, well, there are things you can do. There really are things you can do. And all of a sudden you're a freedom fighter. I love y'all. Thank you all for watching. And tomorrow I will have a recorded version, the second episode of Our Modern World and the Book of Revelation. And then tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, we will be back here with News Done Differently. Again, I thank you all for watching. I wish you a very, very blessed rest of the Saturday night. And I hope you have a great day tomorrow. I wish you peace. Namaste. Shalom. Salam. Blessings upon one and all. If you're a fellow Christian, blessings in the name of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. From me to all of you, I say, man, it's a dark world. Let's all try to be a light. And you know what? We're dealing with a time where the talk of nuclear war, the talk of WMDs, weapons of mass destruction, where these things are more common than they've ever been. And we talk about the underground bunkers that Putin supposedly has moved his family. Oh, okay. There was a question about this before I end. Earlier, I said that Putin has supposedly moved his wife and children to an underground family or underground city, moved his family to an underground city in Siberia, presumably somewhere under the Ural Mountains. And I said we had intelligence that they were in either Sweden or Switzerland. And in Sweden or Switzerland is his mistress and their two children. Okay. His wife and the other children are supposedly have been whisked away to an underground city in Siberia. With all that being said, there are bunkers. There are underground cities here in America. I know where a couple of them are. I can't get into them. You may know where some are. If you can't get into one of those bunkers, you are non-essential. You're non-essential. And almost all of us are non-essential to the powers that be, that is. I don't think we're non-essential at all. I think we might all be anonymous. Just something to think about. We'll be back tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Also, we'll have a recorded episode tomorrow. Thank you all for watching. Truly love you all. And hope God has mercy upon each and every one of the people of this world. And hope he blesses each and every one of you watching. See you tomorrow night.